Have you ever wondered why some people manage to make money online every day while others keep trying and never get anywhere? It seems unfair, right? Especially when you see ordinary people, without special training, without high investment, achieving consistent results with something seemingly simple. And then comes that nagging question, is there really a simple method to make money online, or is it just another illusion being sold out there? Now let me ask you another question, and answer honestly. Have you ever been through this? Have you ever tried some form of online extra income? Seen promises of quick profits, gotten excited, but ended up frustrated because nothing seemed to really work? If so, you're not alone. Most people enter this world of personal finance and wealth building with high expectations, but without a clear direction. And that's exactly where everything starts to go wrong. What almost no one tells you is that the problem isn't you. Neither a lack of intelligence nor a lack of effort. The problem lies in how you were taught to view money and opportunities on the internet. Because while you're looking for something complex, difficult, or revolutionary, there are people profiting every day with simple, repeatable strategies that don't require anything out of the ordinary. And the most curious thing about all this is that this type of opportunity is hidden in plain sight. Yes, you've probably come across this type of model several times, but you never realized you could use it to your advantage. It's like an invisible pattern that only those who understand it can see. And once you see it, there's no way to unsee it. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. We're not talking about magic formulas or unrealistic promises. We're talking about a model for making money online that works precisely because it's simple, direct, and based on something that already happens every day on the internet. People looking for solutions to real problems. Think about it. Every day, millions of people search for things on Google, watch videos on YouTube, click on links, buy products, and make decisions. Now imagine if you could position yourself right in the middle of that flow, connecting those who need something with what solves their problem, and being rewarded for it. Sounds too simple, right? And that's exactly why most people ignore it. But here's the point that changes everything. When you understand how this process works and apply it consistently, you start building something that goes beyond just extra income. You start creating a system, a way to generate money every day, even starting from scratch and with little time available. Perhaps now you're thinking, okay, but if it's so simple, why doesn't everyone do it? And that's exactly the right question, because the answer reveals the biggest mistake that prevents most people from moving forward, and at the same time, shows the path that can put you in a completely different position from most. And that's exactly what we're going to start exploring now. By ultimately, it's not about a lack of opportunity. It's about not seeing the game that's happening right in front of you. And when you start to realize that, something changes. You stop just watching as a spectator and start wondering how you can participate, how you can use this to your advantage, how you can finally get out of that situation. And I really want to hear from you here. Have you ever tried any way to make money online before? Have you ever experienced the frustration of feeling like you're always starting from scratch? If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has resonated with you the most so far, or what your biggest challenge has been along the way. Because when you share this, in addition to better organizing your own thoughts, you also help other people who are going through the exact same situation. And there's another important point that few people talk about. When you like this type of content, you're not just giving a like, you're telling the platform that this topic matters, that more people need to see this, that this type of conversation about personal finance, extra income, and wealth building needs to reach those who are still lost, thinking there's no way out. Your participation here truly makes a difference. If you feel that this type of content opens your mind, makes you think differently, and brings you closer to a new financial reality, consider subscribing to the channel. It's not just about watching videos. It's about being part of an environment where you start to see opportunities that previously went unnoticed. And this, over time, completely changes the way you deal with money and your own life. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content. And the more people wake up to this, the stronger this community of people who decided to break out of autopilot and build something different becomes. Now, pay attention to what comes next, because this is where everything starts to make even more sense. Oh, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a hidden truth here that can completely change how you see money, opportunities, and even the decisions you make every day. Most people grow up believing that making money depends on extreme effort, working longer hours, being lucky, or even knowing the right people. And this belief silently hinders any attempt at real transformation. But when you start observing the behind-the-scenes work of those who are truly achieving results in the digital world, you notice a different pattern. It's not about working harder. It's about understanding better. It's not about chasing everything at once. It's about focusing on what truly generates impact. There's a huge difference between being busy and making progress, and almost no one talks about this clearly. Perhaps you've already made decisions based on this outdated mindset, believing you needed to complicate everything, learn 1,000 things at once, invest money you didn't even have, when in reality, the path could be much more direct. And that's no coincidence. This confusion is part of a scenario where the more lost you are, the less strategically you act. The turning point begins when you simplify. When you understand that you don't need to master everything, but rather execute the essentials consistently. This change in mindset seems small at first, but its effect over time is gigantic. Because it takes you out of the cycle of aimless trial and error and puts you on a journey with more clarity, more intention, and more control. And it is at this point that many people begin to realize that it wasn't a lack of ability, it was a lack of direction. They needed to see the game in a different way, a simpler, more practical, and, above all, more realistic way. And maybe this realization is starting to make sense to you now. So comment below, does this make sense to me? And I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because if you've made it this far, there's a good chance that this journey has already begun for you, even if in a confusing way. Maybe you've already researched ways to make money online, watched several videos, tested some ideas, and yet, you're still left with that feeling of always going in circles, without getting anywhere, as if some important piece of the puzzle is missing, and that's exhausting. It's exhausting to start something with expectations and see that it doesn't yield results. It's exhausting to feel like everyone else seems to be making progress, except you. And little by little, without realizing it, this starts to affect your mindset, your decisions, and even the way you see your own possibilities. You start to doubt, not only the methods, but yourself. But here's a revelation that could change this scenario. What you're feeling isn't a sign of inability, it's a sign of misalignment. It's like trying to follow a path without understanding its inner workings. You see people's end results, but you don't see the simple process they repeat every day. And without that clarity, any attempt seems harder than it actually is. Perhaps you're at a point where you want real transformation. You want to build something that truly works, but you haven't yet found a direction that makes sense. And that's more common than it seems. Most people are exactly at that point, wanting to move forward, but without understanding which decision to make first. And that's why this conversation is so important. Because when you start to recognize yourself in this process, you also begin to realize that there's a simpler, more direct, and much more feasible way out than it seemed before. And if you see yourself in all of this, write this down. I'm on this journey too. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because the time has come to show you, clearly, what's behind this so-called simple method that so many people are using to generate money every day. And before anything else, forget that idea of something elaborate, full of complicated steps or requiring advanced technical knowledge. The truth is almost the opposite of that, and perhaps that's exactly why it goes unnoticed. This method revolves around a principle that underpins much of the internet today: attention and solutions. Every day, millions of people are searching for answers, products, shortcuts, ways to improve some area of their lives. And at the same time, there are companies, tools, and services ready to meet these demands. What few people realize is that there is a huge gap between these 2 points. And that is precisely where the opportunity lies. It's not about creating something from scratch, nor about inventing a new technology. It's about understanding the inner workings of this flow and strategically positioning yourself within it. It's almost like building an invisible bridge between those who need something and what solves their problem. And when that connection happens, value is generated, and that's where you come in. The most interesting thing is that this process can be simple enough to be repeated every day, without depending on luck or large investments. But there's one detail that makes all the difference: how you see it. Because when you understand the mechanism behind it, everything stops seeming random and starts to make sense as part of a system. And it is precisely at this point that most people have a small but powerful turning point. They realize that they don't need to complicate things, they just need to apply them clearly and consistently. And when that happens, the game changes completely. If this has already started to broaden your perspective in any way, comment below. I'm starting to understand. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because understanding why this method works is what truly changes the game in your mind. It's not just about applying something mechanically. It's about seeing the logic behind it, the hidden truth that underpins it all. When you understand the why, your decisions become clearer, your confidence increases, and your journey is no longer based on trial and error. This method works because it doesn't depend on luck or perfect timing. It relies on something that's already happening all the time, with or without you: human behavior. People continue to seek solutions, continue to consume content, continue to make decisions every day. This doesn't stop, and it's precisely this consistency that creates opportunity. Behind the scenes, there's a continuous flow of attention directed towards specific problems. And where there's attention, there's value. The key here is that you don't need to create this demand. It already exists. You just need to learn how to position yourself intelligently within this scenario, connecting the right dots. That's why this method has so much potential for impact, because it doesn't fight against the system, it works with it. It leverages a movement that's already underway and transforms it into a source of income generation. And when you understand that, something changes in your mindset. You stop desperately chasing after things and start acting with more strategy, more intention, and perhaps the biggest revelation here is this: the simpler it seems, the more powerful it can be provided you truly understand the process and apply it consistently. That's what separates those who merely try from those who truly build something over time. If this logic has started to clarify your vision in any way, comment below. Now it makes sense. And now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because nothing reinforces this idea more than seeing it happening in practice. Behind the scenes of real life, imagine someone ordinary, with no experience, no audience, knowing practically nothing about this world. That's exactly how Raphael started. He worked all day, came home tired, and yet felt he needed a transformation in his financial life. At first, he did what everyone does. He tried several things at once, consumed scattered content, made decisions based on excitement, and got no results. Frustration came quickly. But instead of giving up, he decided to simplify. He stopped chasing after everything and started observing more closely. He began to understand people's behavior, what they were looking for, how they made decisions. He began to see the pattern behind the chaos. And that's when everything started to change. He chose a simple, direct path, focused on connecting people to solutions that already existed. No creating anything complex, no reinventing the wheel. Just apply the process consistently. In the beginning, the results were small, almost imperceptible. But they had something different. They were real. They were repeatable. Over time, what started as an experiment became a system. He began to understand the flow better, adjust small things, and improve his decisions. And without realizing it, he was building something that generated returns practically every day. Not because he discovered a magic secret, but because he finally understood the game that had been played all along. This story isn't about luck. It's about clarity, about stepping out of the confusion and embarking on a journey with more intention and direction. And perhaps the most important thing here is to realize that this kind of change doesn't happen from the outside in. It begins with how you see things. If this story made you reflect in any way, comment below. Consistency changes you. Now to want to delve even deeper into this subject, because after understanding the logic and seeing it happen in practice, the question that naturally arises is, how does this work in everyday life, in a simple and applicable way? And here is one of the greatest revelations of this journey. It's not about the number of steps, it's about clarity in execution. It all begins with something far more strategic than it seems: observation. It's that simple. Observing what people are seeking, what problems they are trying to solve, what desires are driving silent decisions every day. This is the starting point that almost everyone ignores, but which defines the rest of the process. After that comes the connection phase. And no, this doesn't mean aggressively selling or convincing someone of something. It simply means positioning a solution in front of the right person at the right time. It's like aligning pieces that already exist, creating a natural path between intention and action. And then comes repetition, which is where true transformation happens, because a single attempt builds nothing. But a simple process, repeated consistently, begins to generate results, adjustments, and learning. Gradually, you begin to better understand what goes on behind the scenes. Refine your decisions and increase the impact of your actions. Do you see how this changes the perspective? It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the essentials consistently. This simplicity is what makes the method accessible, but at the same time, powerful for those who actually apply it. And it is precisely here that many people experience a silent turning point, beginning to see more clearly what previously seemed too confusing to be possible. If this is already making sense to you, comment below. The simple function, Iona. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding what to do is important, but understanding what to avoid can accelerate your transformation in ways few people imagine. And here's a behind-the-scenes aspect that almost no one shows. The silent mistakes that hinder results even when the person is trying. One of the most common pitfalls is the constant search for novelty. A person starts something, doesn't see immediate results, and changes direction, then changes again and again. In the end, it's not a lack of effort, it's a lack of continuity. This mentality of always looking for the next best method prevents any process from having enough time to generate real impact. Another point is the illusion of complexity. Many people believe that to make money online, they need to master various tools, advanced strategies, difficult techniques, and end up getting lost before they even really begin. The hidden truth here is simple. The more you complicate things, the less you execute, and without execution, there are no results. There's also the mistake of expecting perfection, waiting for the ideal moment, complete knowledge, absolute confidence, and that never comes. Meanwhile, other people are making mistakes, adjusting, learning through practice, and moving forward. The difference isn't in who knows more, but in who acts despite their doubts. And perhaps the most invisible mistake of all is ignoring the process. Wanting quick results without respecting the journey. except that everything that grows consistently goes through repetition, adjustment, and time. There are no shortcuts to it, and accepting this reality completely changes your decisions. When you start to see these patterns, something changes internally. You stop unconsciously sabotaging yourself and begin to act with more clarity, more strategy, and much more awareness. If you've ever made any of these mistakes, comment below. I've made them before. So, but I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because ultimately, what truly sustains any result isn't the method itself. It's the mindset you build along the way. And that changes everything. Because two people can have access to the same information, the same process, the same opportunities. But the results will be completely different depending on how each one thinks and acts. A financial growth mindset begins when you stop seeing money as something distant or complicated, and start seeing it as a direct consequence of your daily decisions. Small actions, repeated consistently, generate a cumulative impact that many people underestimate. And it is precisely at this point that true transformation occurs. Behind the scenes, those who build results aren't motivated all the time, nor are they absolutely certain of what they're doing. But they persevere, they adjust, they learn, they evolve. There's an inner clarity that each attempt is part of the process, that each mistake brings a revelation, that each small advance brings us closer to something bigger. And this creates a silent force that sustains progress even when the results aren't yet visible. This change in mindset also alters how you make decisions. You stop looking for immediate shortcuts and start building something more solid. You begin to think long-term without losing sight of the present. And this creates a powerful balance between strategy and execution. And perhaps the most interesting thing about all this is realizing that this mindset isn't something you just innate. It's built, strengthened with each step, with each conscious choice. If this perspective is already changing how you view your journey, comment below. I'm building my mindset. I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because when you put together everything we've discussed so far, a different vision of the future begins to emerge. Not as something distant or uncertain, but as a construction that begins with the decisions you make today. And this has a much greater impact than it seems, because it completely changes the way you see what is possible. The hidden truth is that most people live waiting for the ideal moment, the perfect opportunity, total security, while others simply start with what they have and adjust along the way. And over time, this difference in attitude creates completely different results. It's not about having an initial advantage, it's about getting into the game and staying in it. When you understand that there's a simple path based on repetition, clarity, and consistency, something falls into place. You stop seeing money as something unpredictable and start seeing it as a consequence of a process that can be learned and improved. This brings a sense of control, of direction, as if you were finally taking command of your own journey. And it's not just about making money every day. It goes beyond that. It's about building a mindset that fosters growth, about developing a strategic vision that influences your decisions, about creating something that, over time, can generate freedom and new possibilities. Perhaps this is the most important point of this conversation. Realizing that you're not as far away as you think, that there's a more accessible path than it seems, and that transformation begins long before results appear. And if this vision of the future has started to make sense to you in any way, comment below. I can see this happening. Yes, you've made it this far. You've already realized that this wasn't just another ordinary video. It was an exchange, a direct conversation about something that can truly impact how you see money, decisions, and your own journey. So, if this type of content makes sense to you and helps you think differently, subscribing to the channel is almost like guaranteeing that you'll continue to have access to this kind of perspective whenever you come back here. And I like to know who really followed along until the end, because that shows who is taking this transformation seriously. So write in the comments, I'm with you until the end. That already shows me that you're not just watching, you're absorbing it. And of course, if at any point during this video you felt something click in your mind, that some idea really made sense, leave a like. It's a simple way to show that this connection happened. And it also helps this content reach more people who are exactly at this turning point. Now, before you leave, there's a video here that perfectly complements everything we've discussed. It delves even deeper into this logic and shows other points that can further expand your perspective. So click on it and continue reading.